I think Kiran, we can start. Let me first give brief introduction about Kiran.
Mhm.
So good morning everyone and welcome to our Sitecore user group Jaipur. And this time we have Kiran Patil with us, who will present on on his topic. Sorry, 1 second.
It's fine. Tech issues.
So let me tell you something about Kiran. Kiran has been working as a group technology director with Horizontal Digital from last 9 years. He is also one of the founders of Sitecore User Group India. He has developed 11 Sitecore modules, write 200 plus blogs on his Sitecore blog site, sitecorebasics.wordpress.com. For his continuous community efforts, Sitecore has recognized Kiran as a Sitecore MVP 10 times in a row. Kiran loves to learn new technology, write new blogs, read, travel, and explore nature. His mantra of success is stick on the basics. So I'm going to hand over the session to Kiran. I think Kiran, you can start now.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Rishiraj, for the introduction. Awesome. Thanks everyone for your time this Thursday evening and Thursday morning. Today's session is all about segmentation, batch import and export basics. Uh, Rishiraj has done a good job, so I'll not spend time on this slide. Uh, I have been doing this 4 session series for sharing the CDP and personalized knowledge which I learned throughout my learning process. So I've done 3 sessions already with different user groups, Sitecore CDP Basics, Sitecore Personalized Basics, and Sitecore CDP Decision Model Basics. The recordings of those sessions are available in case you missed those sessions. And I'll not be going into detail of those topics which you have already done to save some time because this topic which we are going to discuss today is lengthy. It can have its 3 own sessions, but I'm trying to compress that information and try to provide that in the 1 hour available. So let's start with the basics. So this is the diagram which I present before I talk about anything about Sitecore CDP and Sitecore Personalize. Uh, the first and foremost thing is Sitecore CDP and Personalize both are different products. They can be purchased on their own, or if you would like to purchase as them as bundle, you can purchase them. On the left side, you have CDP, which is mainly used for data ingestion. And then once you have the data, you can connect to a decisioning model to make some decisions as a business user and developer. And then on the right side, you have the omnichannel experiences. So you can create your experiences or experiments, which can be connected to any activation channels. And there are a couple of ways to activate those activation channels. One is interactive, basically channel invokes the experience, and another is triggered, where your system invokes a trigger. The example of trigger will be abandoned card. As soon as the abandoned card event happens, you send an email or something or push notification to user that, hey, you have something in the cart, you would like to get that thing purchased. And then sync is basically whatever segmentation data you have created. That's something you can push to your uh, other channels like ad campaigns or whatever you have been doing. You can do that. So as part of this today's session, we are going to focus on 2 things: the batch API that's mainly used for the uploading larger data. And in the real world, think of this: you have some backend system, customer data warehouse, or might be Snowflake storing all the data, and you like to get it imported or ingested into Sitecore CDP. You can use that batch API. And then we are also going to export the data because using the power of CDP, we can create segments, and those segments you would like to export the data and push it to the other channels. That can also be done. So we're going to focus on that. And then other topics we have already discussed in the earlier sessions, as I mentioned earlier. So you can explore those sessions if you're interested to know more about that. So let's start on the first topic, segmentation. Again, what is segmentation and all those things? I feel like this group must have been aware about it because even Sitecore XP World segmentation was available. It was not widely used. but it was still available. So in Sitecore CDP and personalized product, and then the segmentation is part of Sitecore CDP. Uh, there are two ways to do segmentation. One is kind of real-time segmentation, and one is batch segmentation. The real-time segmentation is basically uh, you have the user's data, and then based on some limited data, for example, in real-time segmentation, you can only have 90 days or 40 sessions worth of session data to create a real-time segment. The best example of the real-time segmentation will be, let's say you are building a travel website, and then if someone is visiting Miami, if you are in US, and Goa, if you are in India, let's say if people are visiting that a lot, you would like to create a segmentation for them and target those users to create some personalized experience or next best offer for the only those segment of users. And that doesn't happen over the night. That something is real time. So for those kind of users, what you can do is you can create a real time audience or real time segment, and you can target those users and provide some best offers to them. The batch segmentation, that's another option available where you configure those, and the batch segmentation runs nightly, and you can use all the guest order and session data available in the system. And then this job is executed nightly, and then you will have all those users who belong to the segmentation criteria you have defined, and then you can do your next action based on that data. And we'll see the demo so you can understand more. And this basically shows we had these users based on real-time audience. Few users belong to this real-time segment, and the few user base are filtered to a batch segment. So using segmentation with Sitecore CDP, after you build a segment, you need to wait, like for the batch segment, you need to wait for 24 hours for it to process. Uh, why people use segmentation? Two use cases. One is audience sync, where you would like to combine the clickstream and behavioral and historical data and then provide that to offline systems. Or if you would like to send that data, export that data and send to your Google Ads, so you can have a personalized campaigns, and those kind of things can be done with uh, segmentation. So one approach is audience sync. Second approach is data interrogation. Uh, when you are creating, so like making some business decisions, and based on the data which you are getting into your system, you would like to make some decision, you can use segmentation for that as well. The example which is written here is uh, the people who have purchased sunglasses from the retail side for males, that data can be interrogated. Segment best practices in Sitecore CDP. The first and foremost thing while designing the segment is identify your business objectives, because things can get complicated in the segmentation. So make sure that business objective is clear, what you're trying to achieve from the segment. Um, and then, as I mentioned, you can integrate the data and make sure that you are looking at the right sample size of the data. Uh, as your customer base grows, integrate your organization's data so you have accurate view of your market. Because there are few decisions which we make on the website that by making some assumptions. But if you have a CDP system, you can interrogate the data and then make some decisions, even the business decisions. And then verify that you have applied intended comparators. I'll show you that because segment can be configured from the UI. And then there are way you can apply and or operators, and make sure that you have applied proper and or operations. I think being a developer, you know that if you use and or, the results can change. And then there is a documentation which talks a lot about this. Segmentation has states inside Core CDP. So as soon as you create a segment, it goes into draft state initially. Then once you are ready with your segment criteria, you can publish the segment. Uh, as soon as you publish the segment, it doesn't go live. It goes into scheduled state. From scheduled state, if the error happens, it will go back to draft state. If it was paused earlier, it will go into pause state. And then from the scheduled state, it can, if everything happens successfully, it will go to live state, or if you would like to change it, you can also change to a pause state. And then once it is live, uh, it can also be paused. So this is kind of an overall segment status, how it works behind the scenes. And obviously this is something system automatically handles. You don't need to be worried. But in case you schedule a session, like you published a session, it was in scheduled state. And if it went back to draft, you should know that something went wrong and you need to double check the segment criteria, what you have defined. And yeah, less theory, more demos. So now let's look at the segmentation. So this is the Sitecore CDP dashboard, which or the portal which you get access once you have uh, the account configured by the Sitecore account representative or client partner representative. Uh, these are the customer data available. And if you would like to create a segment, you click on this batch segments option available. How you get to that? You need to expand this customer data and then click on this. And one more thing, in this example, I have CDP and personalized both available as part of the product. But let's say if you only have CDP, you only have purchased personalized as a product, then this option like will not be available to you. So keep that in mind in case you don't see that option. That means your company doesn't have CDP license. So now we are good because we have the CDP license. So I'll create one segment, and in the earlier sessions, I used this site. Basically, in this demo site, this is connected to Sitecore CDP sandbox instance, which I'm using here. Basically, we are selling Apple watches, and then people are purchasing watches from here. And this data is getting ingested into the system. Now, what I'd like to do is, whomsoever has purchased Apple Watch 7, create a segment for that set of users. So I can target an ad campaign for them for to ask them to either purchase Apple Watch 8 or Apple Watch Ultra, which is recently available. So I'd like to create a segment for that. So what we'll be doing is when you create a segment, you get this kind of screen. And as I mentioned, uh, it goes into draft state whenever you set it up. From here, this is a nice UI where you can build it. So I'd like to have an event, uh, checkout event, because checkout is an event which happens. And I'd like to select point of sale. My point of sale is this, which I have configured. And if you would like to know more about what is point of sale, that's the first session, which we discuss that. So when I select the point of sale, the most important thing here is it also shows me how many records are there for this particular point of sale. So I can select that and I can click on this small icon. Now, if I like to have more rules with event checkout, I can add those here. For example, cart is equal to, I can do that as well, but I don't need. But in case you need, because each group can have multiple rules, and you can configure that. Now I need an additional filter group, so I'll select that, and then I'd like to say order item. If anyone ordered Apple Watch 7, the smartwatch, I would like to have those results. So let's just select from the web channel if anyone ordered. So obviously 97% orders are coming from web channel. So obviously as a business, you can also make some decision based on this data. So I'll select that. Now here, this is what I was talking. Here you can select and or not operator, and you can keep adding your filter groups based on what you need, but I don't need right now. I'll just cancel that. The other thing is I can calculate the audience because I'm configuring this. I'd like to make sure that I'm targeting the right users. So I can click this small button which says calculate audience. What it will do is it will try to execute this particular segment and provide a data to me. So now you can see that 12 users have purchased Apple Watch 7. Obviously, it's a 0% because this system has roughly 2 million worth of data and 12 of 12 million is 0%. So I can view the sample, and from here, so basically these users have purchased Apple Watch 7. Just to verify that is right, I'll click on any of that guest reference, which will open this new tab for me. Here, if this segmentation configuration is right, I should be able to see an order in this user that they purchase Apple Watch 7. So this something says to me that my configurations are accurate and we are good to go. So if I am happy with my results, I can go ahead and start this, and then it will be scheduled. But if I want to be more, if I need to more complicated results and I'm more strong in the SQL stored procedures or the SQL syntax, then I can switch into this advanced mode. Advanced mode basically will take you to the SQL mode. Only thing what you need to remember is if you save the SQL data model once, you cannot get back to this UI mode. So if you are designing this segment initially and then your marketing team is going to own it, I would request not to do that because they will not know SQL, because if they know SQL, they will not involve developers. So now let me just show you a demo of switching. So this is something, again, all the Sitecore developers are not very good with SQL. At least I'm not very good with SQL. So you can see that this is a select statement behind the scenes, and then all the criteria that you provided is getting stored here. And if I know SQL, I can start writing my own queries here with the inner joins and whatever is required. And I can also copy some stuff from here if I need. So that's a this is an advanced model, and you can also run this SQL. So if you know SQL Management Studio, we used to run a query. It used to show us a result, exactly same thing. But as I mentioned, as soon as I save this, I cannot go back to the visual view of this. So I can see the view sample, same results, but basically this is in SQL query got executed. So I'll cancel that, and I'll also cancel uh, this for now because I already configured one which is live with Apple Watch 7 customers, which is so this is live and basically it is running uh, on this site, and then you can see that it shows 12 members have purchased Apple Watch 7. Uh, if there are any delta in 24 hours, so no one in the 24 hours purchased Apple Watch 7. There is no percentage change here. Uh, this segment is being used by this audience sync. Basically, there is no point in having the audience like segment data, but not being available to the external systems. So this is how audience sync is a way to expose the data to other systems. And we'll see that in the upcoming slides. And then is there any decisioning using it? No, they're not using it. And then these are the segment samples available to you. So Sitecore CEO also purchased Apple Watch 7 from our website. That's what this data shows. And talking about the real-time segmentation, which we are not going to do the demo because uh, that will take its own time. But when you create an experience or experiment, you can select a real-time segmentation or real-time audience in that experience or experiment, which will automatically target that user. So this is an example experience. And then if you look at this section audience, here you can configure your real-time audience, and that will fetch, uh, that will help you understand which segment you are targeting on the real-time data. But only limited data will be available. So make sure that you keep that in mind because with the batch segmentation, you have all the data at your disposal. So that's the segmentation. So we have one segment already created, and now we'll use that in the upcoming demo. So back to the theory, which I know you guys don't like, but we have to go through that. So batch imports is another concept which we need to go through. So Sitecore CDP provides an efficient way to upload large amount of data into the Sitecore CDP system. And the use case of this might be, let's say you are creating or developing a CDP project for your client. They have been using some other system or some other systems uh, to store all the data. But as part of the first time go live activity, you'd like to ingest all the data before you go live. Then only obviously it makes sense to go live with that. So to ingest that data, the large amount of data, you can use Sitecore CDP Batch API. The other use case might be you have client has various systems, enterprise systems, and there are some offline data getting uh, stored. Like for example, they are running offline campaigns on all the offline retailers, and they upload some data uh, to the system, and that something should over the night should be imported into the system. So you can use CDP Batch API for that as well. So Sitecore CDP Batch API is an efficient way to upload large amount of data. It works in the async manner. It allows parallel upload. One thing for you to remember is it allows parallel upload, but if any dependencies, then you need to wait for the parent import to be completed. For the example will be customer and orders. Obviously, if the customer and order relation is there, you cannot upload the order first and then customer. Make sure that you can have customer first and then you upload the orders. Integration engineers can use Batch API to import large amounts of offline data in order to support greater flexibility in guest segmentation or more comprehensive single customer view or higher sophistication of decision logic. The batch file format requirements are documented here. And then the server timeout is 60 minutes. And these are the kind of quick steps which we go through. The prerequisites are 50 MB is a file size limit, and it should be only ZZIP format. Other formats are not supported. And you need to do some MD5 checksum and a few things which we will see in the demo when we do the demo. Yeah, simple. So now this is the batch API uh, documentation. You need to follow the specification when you are uploading the data. So you don't need to have a JSON file. Each line is a JSON in this example. So for example, this particular uh, record indicates one user, and if you have 3 users, you'll have 3 lines like that. So I have prepared one sample file here with the guest list and uh, order list. So this is another file. In this today's demo, the use case is I'd like to upload the guest data into the CDP system or ingest the guest data and then ingest the order data. But to save some time, I'll just go through the guest data only, but the process is same. Only the schema is a little bit different. So let's look at the schema. So here I have 5 records created, and I would like to upload the entity type guest. So I need to provide a schema as guest, and the mode is absurd. Basically, update plus insert is absurd. So if the record is available, it will update, else it will insert. The value email I have provided. Uh, so Jaipur emails, 5 emails I have provided, and then the first name uh, ending with last name ABCDE. So you can see that those records and identify, and then some data extensions here. But as you can see, like each line, the file extension can be anything. It can be also TXT, doesn't matter. But each line item should be a valid JSON. The file should not be a valid JSON, but the each line item should be a valid JSON. Don't keep any spaces, everything, because it processes every line. So if you have spaces, it will give an error, or it will not process that particular line. So keep that in mind. So we have this file. So first and foremost thing what we need to do is, uh, I don't want to write a script. So there is a Postman script available, uh, Postman steps available. So I'll be using that. I have two postmans. One is from the Chrome and another is the install one. Not sure the install one doesn't want to show up. Okay, I'll click it from here. It might not have been indexed. Okay, so I'll close this guy. This is a postman collection I already created to make things simple. But there are three steps to get this batch import done. So first thing is pre-sign request. We need to make sure that we pre-sign the request and provide a unique ID using which CDP system will basically allocate a space for this particular file upload. So for that, we need to gzip this file. So I'll go ahead and make sure that you have selected gzip. So that's the first step. And then you also need this size. So 412 bytes. So make sure you update that. The checksum needs to be there. So we need the checksum value. I'm not smart enough to calculate checksum. So I'll use this online tool, basically upload this file. Let me just make sure I refresh this. Upload this file. It will provide me this checksum value, which I'll just copy and paste it here. And then I also need a batch ID created. So for that, we'll be using this random, the UID tool. I'll create a new ID. So this is my batch ID, just unique identifier to identify this batch process which you're going to do. And the other parameters are like simple authorization is your API client ID, client secret, which you get from the API access. And then you just provide this. And I'll just click on send. So now this basically created this particular container for me so I can upload the file here. And then you can see the status code is uploading. And then this has been status set as an environment variable here. So that variable which we have got here has been configured to store in this batch ref. So here in the upload file, upload URL is basically what has been set up from here. In the upload file, I need to do two things. One is upload the file. So in the body, I'll select the same file. And then second thing I need is in the headers, I need to provide a MD5 of the checksum. So I'll go back to this and then I'll copy this checksum. And there's another tool where you provide a hex value, which will convert to a base 64 string. There should be a base 64 string. So now we just click on upload and you can see the 200 OK. That means that this file has been uploaded into this particular container which has been allocated to us. And now the system will start processing. So same thing on the check status API call. You basically keep checking the status. You can see the status is processing right now and it takes uh, 5 minutes or so. So we can continue on the other topic and we'll come back to this. And this should be a success. And then just to make sure that I'm not doing any magic behind the scenes, uh, let's go here and then search user from this email address. If I have not done any magic, I should not, you should not find any user. Okay, so after like 2-3 minutes, we'll come back and we should see 5 users with this email, different email address created. But we'll let it process and it is still in processing. We can continue with our next topic and then we'll come back and check the status. So just to recap, uh, this is the process. We had to do a pre-signed request, MD5 checksum, uh, the size of gzip file, generate UID for the batch reference, upload the file using base 64 encoded checksum. And as a header, this header must needs to be passed because that's some standard for this. It looks like behind the scenes they use Amazon servers and this header needs to be passed to upload the binary file, the body. And then you use check status where you provide this UID to check the status. So that's what we did, and we'll let the file process and then we'll come back to that, but we can continue with our other topic. The third topic is audience sync. You can also call it data export, because basically whatever segment data we have gathered, we would like to send it to other system, and we'll be using audience sync for that. So some theory about that. So audience sync is an export of segment data to an external destination, such as social media platform, to power an ad campaign. Because obviously, if you have noticed that user has done something and you provide some personalized ad campaigns, there is a high probability that they will engage uh, with your ad campaign, and there is a high chance of conversion. Sitecore CDP audiencing can help reduce misspent prospecting, create exclusion list, and suppress existing customers from acquisition campaigns. Because let's say if someone has purchased Apple Watch 7, there is no point in showing them Apple Watch 7 ad, because that person is not interested. They already purchased it. Audiencing enables you to get the most out of social media ads by using rich and relevant first-party segments created data uh, inside Core CDP. That's also a very important topic, because all this data is first-party data, what you got, and then if you use that, that's more relevant data to the end users. So there are kind of high-level steps. You need to create a service connection, which is already created in this example, so we'll not spend time on that. First, you need to create an audience sync template, and then you configure audience sync, and then you validate that using Workbench. I'll show you that. And then for testing purpose, you can also use manually trigger the batch flow. These are the two examples, use cases where audience sync can be used. Schedule outbound experiences. For example, a customer of an airline is part of a segment for guests flying in 5 days. Obviously, if someone is flying in 5 days, you would like to send them an email that, hey, would you like to get in hotel, or you'd like to check in your bag. Um, all those things can be done with this segmentation. Or you would like to do a paid media campaign where, if you are for example, a customer of a shoe retailer is part of segment of customers with a high propensity to buy. Customers in this segment are exported in a batch flow to social media platform to be targeted for paid media. So you can do a number of scenarios with this, and the most important thing is all is first party data. So yeah, let's start with our demo. But before we start the demo, let's look at how this batch API is doing. Okay, so this is success. So basically, our file upload has been successful. Um, so that's great. What we will do is, before we start the audience sync demo, let's look at this results. So as I mentioned, if everything went successfully, then we should be able to see the results. And then if I just search with SUGJP, I can see this A, B, C, D, E records got created with this, and that something is coming from here. And then this last name was A, B, C, D, E, and you can see that A, B, C, D here. Let's look at the one record, because I also provided data extension with loyalty number 123. So let's look at that as well. So in the properties tab, you can see that loyalty number is 123. So all the data has been ingested successfully. And that's the power of CDP bash modeling, where you can ingest the data easily. So that's all about the batch API. Now let's go to the audience sync. So you can configure the audience sync from here. But before you create an audience sync, you need to select a template. So for that, you have to go to library and select the audience sync template. When you create a template, you have to create a destination, like whenever this data is created, what should happen. So in this example, I can use file upload service, but you can use whatever. Let's say you have uh, some other data, you can create this connection and you can upload there. I can just say whatever description, doesn't matter, select whatever icon, what category. Obviously, this is for reporting purpose. Like, are you doing acquisition, conversion, retention, the offer template, whatever you would like to use. Uh, when you are configuring template, you can configure that, hey, this something is editable when I create an item of it. I said, yes, I'd like to keep it. What's the trigger, manual or schedule? Like you'll just say schedule. If you like to provide some conditions based on some guest or session, I can do that, but I don't need in this example. Is this editable in flow? Yes, true. Whenever this fails, like you would like to, or success, you would like to send an email, so you can configure that. If you would like to use any of your notification credentials, for example, you have SendGrid for sending an email, you can use SendGrid here. And then what format you would like to have this data exported, CSV or JSON. In this example, I'll keep it JSON. And then you can also create a dummy model here just to taste. And then you can just click on this sample data where you can see the output. Here, let's say if I also need one more thing like guest dot email as well in my export, I can do that. And then uh, it shows that as well. Obviously, it has to be valid JSON, but I'm just showing you a demo. Okay, and then you can delete it as well. So once you save it, save this flow template, then you can use it uh, in the audience sync. So I have created one flow template. So let me go back and show you that. So I created this flow template. Basically, I'm sending this data to a file upload service, and I just need a user's first name and email so I can do an email campaign for those users who have purchased Apple Watch 7. Obviously, that configuration happens at audience sync level, but this is my standard configuration. Now, let's go to audience sync. And when you do that, you can select your template which you created, and that will bring you an editor where you can provide data like inputs, whatever you want, like watch labels, like segment export. And again, this is for reporting only. And then you can configure, because it was scheduled batch, so you can configure a schedule that from when it should start. It should run for few days or forever. On failure, what should happen? New execution or previous day's data. It should repeat every day or send notification email. If it is still the export is still late by 3 hours, send an email to the email which we configured, and you can set the schedule. And you can select a segment. So here is where you select the segment. So if you remember, I created the Apple Watch 7 customer segment. So basically for this flow, I need to use this data, and it will create a JSON file in this format. So that's what we are doing here. But I'll go back because I already created one, which I have been using. So this is a data sync schedule batch, and this is the flow template I'm using. The status is scheduled. It was executed. The start date was 13 April, and this is the next execution date. Uh, it runs every 1 day, and these are the files uh, which got created as part of the execution. You can download the success file if it is success, which will have all the data, or you can also download the error in case it fails. So that's the segment. But now you created this flow, but before it goes live, or you'd like to make sure that everything is working fine before you make this live, because we are dealing with large amount of data and we want to do some validation. So for that, there is a tool available known as Workbench. As part of the Workbench, what you can do is you can validate your segment and the audience sync flow which you created before you go live, because obviously if you realize after execution that something is missing, you need to spend more time. So this Workbench is not available in this navigation. It's an backend tool available for validating the work. audience flow. So here you need to provide some input. So guest reference is the first input. So guest reference is nothing but an identifier to identify the guest. So here I can copy this identifier and then I can load this guest. So that's the user and that's the user's data I copied from here. Then I need a flow reference. So the flow which we wrote is this, and I can copy the ID of this particular reference from here. And then I can debug the flow. So you can see that it provides me this format which we configured for our template. So you can see the output here. If you'd like to see more detailed output, you can click on the raw output. It shows all the data and you can see the file entry mapping, stuff like that. And then if it also shows the log entry, this is very helpful. If something is failing, you can figure out what's going on. And then this is the debug context. So basically this user we passed to a flow and then it executed. So it's a very powerful tool for you to kind of validate before it goes live. But now you have configured your flow already, and it is going to execute uh, somewhere later. But you would like to do a more validation to make sure that the exported data is valid, or your business says that, hey, I cannot wait for 24 hours. Can you export a data, whatever you have right now, and send it to me? Yeah, you can absolutely do that. For that, there is an batch flow trigger API, the batch flow trigger API. In that, what you need to do is you need to provide a flow reference. So in this example, uh, this is your flow reference ID, which is the which we need to copy here and copy paste, which is same because I was doing a testing yesterday. And then you need a segment reference. So you can click a segment here and this ID you need to copy for the segment, which is again same. And then you can get the last 3 days data. So in this example, I can change this data to 21st. That's the data set date from where you want to execute. And you just trigger this API and then you can see the status pending uh, and you got 201. So now if I come back, this is scheduled right now. If I refresh the screen, uh, it should show a different status. It says in progress. Basically, we have triggered this schedule, uh, the flow execution for this particular segment by making this call. Then you can also keep checking the status from this other API call. It will be in pending status. And then once it is successful, you'll be able to get a file. Uh, so that's how. So this has been queued now. So basically this will now start processing. And then once the processing is completed, the file will be available here, or you can also download the file from the get files API call. Let's see if it is okay. But to save some time, I can just download the file from here and show you the output of the last execution. So here basically whomsoever have purchased Apple Watch 7, all the details like we are requested email address and first name, all this information is available into this JSON file. And obviously we can use this to send it to our ad campaign partners and they can use that data to personalize the ad campaigns, or you can do a number of things based on your need. So that's about the audience sync. Let's see if this is successful. Yep, this is successful. And then as I mentioned, you can click the get files, which will give you the file download link. But as we have seen the file, I'll not download that. So that's about the audience sync demo. The last part of the session is data lake export. As if you want to have your CDP data exported to your data lake, that can be easily done. And Sitecore CDP provides the feature for that as well. The feature is known as data lake export. You can export all your data, CDP data to Amazon S3. So this is an example of Amazon S3 where you have all the events, guests, and all those data available into the system. And then the benefit of this is you can have all the data from different data sets into the same system. And then let's say if you want to build a Power BI or any other Hadoop or any tool to get this data and then make some business decisions, you can do that. I think the format of this file is Parquet file, which is a Parquet file, which is kind of an uh, model for this kind of database and analytical model system. Basically, Hadoop also uses this format based on what I know. Uh, this is how the architecture looks like of that. I've not done that personally, but in case there is a use case for your client where they need this data with advanced monitoring, alerting, BI reporting, or stuff like that, just keep in mind that Sitecore CDP has a way for you to export that data to your Amazon S3 if client has that. Yeah, and then these are the list of resources which we use in today's session. You can go through that. One thing which I always talk in my session is this mind map, which I created some time back uh, while I was learning CDP and personalize. This is a mind map which can help you to understand. So today, let's say we discussed about the audience sync and the data export, all those things like segmentation. You can come here and you can click on this and you can click on the small extra link icon, which will open the segmentation section on this. It looks like Sitecore changed something in their navigation, but if they don't change anything, then you should be able to go to that particular section about that particular topic and read more about it. And then you can also see this all the topics at high level uh, in this particular mind map. This basically gives you the overall CDP and personalized topics which you would like to know more and then make your learning easy. So yeah, feel free to use it and that might make your life easy. So that's about the resources. I've been speaking a lot and I shared a lot of things and obviously it has been a lot to digest, but I'll take a pause now and see if there are any questions for me to answer.
We have one question in chat.
Mhm. Mm, Let me see if I can open chat. For that, I have to. So a question from Rinku Jain. Question is, at SQL query panel, is it take care of SQL injection like anybody wants to remove, delete the data? That's a good question. I've not tried deleting anything, Rinku. That's a good question, but I not try. I assume it has been taken care, but I never tried the delete statement because that's the partner sandbox. So I don't want to kind of take any risk. But yeah, you can try if you have small sandbox. Next question is from Kushant. What kind of data we can import, customer and orders only or anything else? Do we need our own AWS account or is it included in CDP license? Okay, so I'll take one question at a time. So customer and orders only or anything else? So not sure what you mean by anything else, uh, but when you look at the CDP batch API data models, it has guest identifiers orders. That's the only thing available. And obviously, if you need, let's say, if you are dealing with guest data, you'll have subscription identifiers and extensions. So these are the only data possible. Data extension is very powerful where you can have your additional data. For example, your business needs an additional flag or something which is not available in the out of the box data models. You can create the data extensions for that. So as far as I know, these are the only possibilities possible in this system. I don't know anything else, but if you have specific thing in your mind, just let me know and I can dig more into that question. Second question is, do we need our own AWS account? So if you are asking that in the context of data lake, the answer is yes. You need to have your own Amazon AWS account because that's the use case where you want to export all the data in your AWS account. But yeah, that's my understanding. As I mentioned, data lake export, a lot of very less information is available. Or let me just read. So let me take a step back. I am not 100% sure like it will be our S3 or Sitecore's S3. So that might be a good question. I might need to explore that, or you can also reach out via Sitecore Slack channel. CDP personalize the user group, the channel where a lot of folks are there, and I can also ask in that group. So it looks like they have mentioned you can transfer exported data from Amazon Simple Storage Service to another Amazon S3 bucket or to a location on your organization's data. So if I understand this line right, they provide you S3 and then you can transfer to your S3. So yeah, I think that answers your question, Kushant.
And it's regarding if we'll have this presentation available for all.
Yeah, I can.
All
So
right.
basically, where's your presentation like that slides, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you guys will also record this session and like upload it into the system, or like how this works.
Yeah, we
This is not,
record.
and then you upload into your YouTube channel.
Yes, we have a
On
YouTube
the
channel of
community
this
as
user
well.
group.
Okay, so yeah, if it is available on the YouTube channel, yeah, then everyone can view it. Perfect. So yeah, I think that was the question from Rinku. Perfect. Anything? Any more questions, friends?
I think that is it. And if we have any questions, so we'll definitely reach out to you on the Slack or the community as well.
Yeah, that sounds good. But again, I think before I conclude, I'd like to just thank you to Sitecore Group Jaipur team. I know it's not easy to schedule all these sessions and coordinate, and we have been like Rishiraj and I have been going back and forth on dates. So thanks for the flexibility, and thanks to all the user group owners for the earlier sessions, and thanks to Sitecore trainer from whom I learned Sarah all these things and sharing with all of you. Hope it was helpful.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Thank
lot,
you.
Kiran.
Thank you very much.